These kids, very often we don't see the signs because they are showing no emotions at all. They are what we simply call flatline.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could have stopped.
She's not moving. She got her head like smashed into the wall. I think she's dead. There's no pulse.
The suspect was not a stranger. The suspect was known to the victim.
The 16-year-old killers of Brianna Gay have been sentenced to life in prison. Brianna's family called her beautiful, witty, and hilarious, strong, fearless, and one of a kind. The 16-year-old gained a following on TikTok and was open about her identity as a transgender girl. The UK's Cheshire Police have released CCTV footage that showed Brianna leaving the house and getting on the bus to meet the two people who ultimately killed her. On February 11th, 2023, Brianna Gay was stabbed 28 times inside a park by two other teenagers.
But I have to say, probably the most devastating injuries I've seen to any murder victim.
Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe, both 15 at the time, were arrested the next day. Police say they found a knife with blood on it in Ratcliffe's room, and that text messages between the teens detailed their intentions.
Walked to the forest. I turned away to the top of the tree, and then turned back around and saw Stella stabbing at least 3 times. Stabbing her over.
After an 18-day trial, Jenkinson and Ratcliffe were both sentenced to life in prison. Jenkinson would have to serve a minimum of 22 years, and Ratcliffe 20 years behind bars before they are eligible for parole.
To know how scared my usually fearless child must have been when she was alone in that park with someone that she called her friend will haunt me forever.
A judge lifted the anonymity of the two juvenile offenders after the conviction and sentencing. Cheshire Police said in a statement, "We also know for many it has been frustrating that her killers couldn't be named. They don't deserve to be remembered. Remember Brianna." It's a Romeo and Juliet story of teenage romance ending in tragedy. 16-year-old Emma Walker was an honor student and cheerleader on a championship-winning high school squad. She dated Riley Gaul, a wide receiver on the Maryville College football team in Tennessee. But days after she ended their 2-year relationship, she was found shot to death in bed. Emma's mom called 911. The killer stood outside Emma's house in Knoxville and opened fire. 2 bullets penetrated the bedroom wall and struck her in the head. Assistant DA Kevin Allen.
First round from the back of the house struck her right behind the ear, behind the left ear, killing her instantly in her sleep.
Riley Gaul fled the scene. That night, he posted this on social media, living every day through Emma. "I love you, beautiful, and I know you're in a better place now. My beautiful Emma, rest easy now, sweetheart." Right away, police suspected Riley and persuaded a close friend to secretly record him talking about Emma's death.
They don't of anything, because if they did, I would be in jail right now.
He even claimed Emma took her own life.
She killed herself because of me and Karen's, or she just killed herself because of her parents. But she didn't kill herself, she did.
Riley Gaul was arrested at the very moment he was trying to dispose of the murder weapon, his grandfather's handgun.
What are you converting? Guilty.
He was found guilty of first-degree murder.
There's no high fives in a murder trial. There's not any celebrating going on. Emma's still gone.
Riley Gaul received an automatic life sentence. He will serve 51 years in prison before he is eligible for parole. A teenager was sentenced in the deaths of 3 children at a Taylor Swift-themed dance party. In July of 2024, then 17-year-old Axel Ruda Kubana entered a yoga and dance class in Southport, England, with a knife.
Without saying a word, he grabbed the child nearest to him, stabbed her. He then moved through the room, systematically stabbing as many children as he could and the adults before they could escape. He managed to stab 11 children, 3 of whom he killed.
Ruda Kubana pleaded guilty in January 2025.
Axel Ruda Kubana has today pleaded guilty to the murder of Elsie Stancoon, B.B. King and Alice Da Silva Aguirre. as well as the attempted murder of 10 others.
The killing of the little girls sparked widespread riots across the UK based on misinformation that the suspect was a Muslim asylum seeker. He was in fact born in the UK to a Christian family. Officials say they could not give the public more details about the perpetrator because he was a minor.
I genuinely don't think we could have said any more because of the constraints that we were under. This was a child that was in custody, which obviously dictates the amount of what information that we can share.
For several days, far-right rioters violently attacked people in places while spouting racist vitriol against immigrants, Muslims, Jews, and people of color. More than 1,000 arrests were made. After the judge heard multiple victim impact statements, Ruda Kubana was sentenced to a minimum of almost 52 years in prison.
In total, I sentenced Ruda Kubana to 13 sentences of custody for life and a minimum term to be served in custody of 51 days and 190 days. It is highly likely that he will never be released.
The Merseyside Police Chief Constable gave her thoughts on the conclusion of this case.
I think it's important that we reflect today is about the families. It's about, you know, the 3 gorgeous little girls, Elsie, Bibi, and Alice, and all those victims who were injured on the day.
Ruda Kubana will be 70 before he is eligible for parole. The teenager captured on this surveillance video has been charged with slaying this beautiful student at the University of Texas at Austin. He was identified as Michel Crryer. He's just 17 and was living in a homeless shelter. Police say he had several items belonging to 18-year-old dance student Haruka Weiser.
We are very certain that the subject we have in custody, the suspect is in custody, is the suspect responsible for the death of this beautiful young woman.
Michel Crryer was profiled in a high school newspaper in Texarkana when he was a sophomore. He claimed he was bullied in school and physically abused in foster care. He gave this chilling quote, "I feel people think I'm not capable of much. What I want is to leave behind my name. I want them to know who Michel Crryer is." The manhunt for Haruka's killer came to an end after firefighters in Austin saw the surveillance video and remembered that they had encountered a homeless youth who tried to set fire to trash, apparently to destroy evidence. The arrest eased tension on the campus of 51,000 students, which has been overwhelmed with grief and anxiety since the murder.
It's been more than 50 years since anything like this has happened on this campus, and it's turned out to be everyone's worst nightmare and every parent's worst nightmare.
Haruka, a talented dance student from Portland, Oregon, wanted to be a professional dancer and choreographer. She left a rehearsal in this building to walk to her dorm just 200 yards away. A police officer discovered her body in a creek under a bridge on her route home.
Give me a specific location in the creek.
Right behind the Alumni Center. South side of the building, behind the cafe.
Thousands of students held an emotional vigil for Haruka and expressed both grief and much fear following the murder.
We have seen a lot of frayed nerves, a lot of anxiety on this campus. Particularly female students are just so filled with anxiety and apprehension.
The police chief choked back tears as he told reporters about the arrest of Haruka's alleged killer.
I didn't get the privilege of meeting this young woman, but I want to say that having spoken to their mother, that whoever she touched, it was a blessing. And I'm just glad and thankful that we're going to bring justice to that family.
A jury of 7 women and 5 men discussed the case for more than 10 hours before they came to their verdict. Their decision left State District Judge David Wahlberg to sentence Crryer to life in prison. Crryer will be eligible for parole after 40 years. This baby-faced Karen participated in the brutal murder of a 13-year-old girl.
I think she played a big role in it.
Tammy Weeks is still grappling with the slaying of her daughter, Nicole, a vulnerable teen who was bullied at school because of a scar on her throat from an emergency tracheotomy. On her Facebook page, Nicole boasted about having a much older boyfriend, and he was quite a catch. His name, David Eisenhower, and he was a Virginia Tech track star. In a relationship, Nicole wrote, and first kiss.
She thought if she went to school and said, hey, I have a boyfriend that's a tech student, because all these little girls were all dating, and Nicole wasn't.
In January 2016, Nicole slipped out of her room around midnight and went to meet David in a wooded area. It would prove to be a date with death. Nicole was stabbed 15 times, according to police. David Eisenhower called his friend, Natalie Keepers, and together they dumped the body on a rural road in North Carolina.
I am sorry for the pain that my actions have caused Nicole Lovell and her family. Nothing can ever undo what has been done, and for that, I am deeply, sincerely, and forever sorry.
I hope somebody treats him the way he treated my daughter in jail.
During the sentencing, Natalie sobbed as she apologized to Nicole's family.
I'm so sorry. I wish I could have stopped.
But as the jury's verdict was read, Natalie Keepers stood emotionless.
We, the jury, unanimously found the defendant, Natalie Marie Keepers, guilty of being an accessory before the fact of first-degree murder.
Natalie Keepers was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
I never intended for this to happen.
On the other hand, Eisenhower pled no contest to murder and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. It's the murder case that shocked America. A 15-year-old confesses to strangling his mom over a bad grade.
Do you solemnly swear affirm to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Greg Ramos wore a blank expression in court as he was arraigned for first-degree murder. Police said Greg Ramos and his mother got into a terrible argument when he came home with a D in school. Around midnight, he allegedly sneaked into his mom's room and strangled her. Then he went to get a wheelbarrow to bring the body out of the house. When he returned, he discovered she was still alive. He told police he strangled her again, this time taking half an hour to kill her. Ramos called 2 school friends who allegedly helped him bury his mom, 46-year-old Gail Clevenger, in a fire pit near a church outside Orlando.
All the stones were arranged. It was a fire pit, and this is where him and his friends would always come. We did a cursory search. Unfortunately, her foot was protruding after digging down maybe 8 or 10 inches. That's not really a big place to where he put his mom.
County Sheriff Mike Chitwood called Ramos soulless. At first, young Greg Ramos told police he came home from school and found his home had been ransacked and his mother missing, presumably abducted by the burglars. But Greg Ramos had scratches on his face and he was taken in for questioning. Pretty soon, his story fell apart.
It was very boom, 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 boom. Normally, you figure there's a point in time where somebody's going to break down or there's going to be some type of emotional. There was no emotional, nothing. There was nothing at all like that.
Criminologist Dr. Casey Jordan said,
These kids, very often we don't see the signs because they are showing no emotions at all. They are what we simply call flatline. They don't show any empathy, any sympathy, any remorse, any guilt.
This video showed Ramos performing Taekwondo at a martial arts camp in 2015. His mom was there to cheer him on. Gail was a loving mom whose last post on Facebook was this photo of her son when he was 6 years old. Love this face, she wrote. Dawn Marie is a family friend.
The little boy that I knew from a young age was brought up in a loving home with loving parents, and he's not the monster they're saying.
Ramos was sentenced to 45 years in prison. The judge said the sentence could be reviewed in 25 years. Following his release, Ramos was ordered to remain on probation for the rest of his life. This Karen killed her baby just after giving birth in a hospital bathroom. Police in Artesia, New Mexico released this body cam of the suspect 19-year-old Alexi Travis being confronted about the child's body being found dead.
We discovered a dead baby in the bathroom. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It came out of me and I didn't know what to do.
Lexi, I told you about this. I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth.
It was not crying or making.
Authorities say Treviso denied being pregnant when she arrived at the emergency room with back pain, but medical staff determined she was pregnant. They say she went to the bathroom for 20 minutes and wouldn't open the door. When she finally emerged, staff claimed the bathroom was covered in blood. A custodian was called in to clean it up and discovered the body while taking out the trash.
So when I picked it up, I realized that it was like a little heavier than it would be with just toilet paper and a trash bag.
Treviso's mother seemed to be shocked by the whole thing.
Like, how big is the baby?
It's full term.
What? 9 months? Nothing was crying.
Lexi, have you watched the news of the girls that what they do to their babies and what they go to jail?
An autopsy performed on the baby boy determined he was breathing before he was put in a trash bag and deprived of oxygen, which caused his death according to the report. Alexi Travis was charged with first-degree murder, intentional abuse of a child resulting in death, and tampering with evidence. Her case is still ongoing. Cops say it was a kid who murdered 10-year-old Lily Peters. All eyes were on Lily's aunt's house in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, where the fourth grader was last seen leaving on her bike. Crime scene tape is wrapped around the home after cops removed bags of evidence. Police made the chilling announcement that Lily knew her killer. According to a published report, he's her cousin. The suspect is an 8th grader. He's 14 years old.
The suspect was not a stranger. Suspect was known to the victim.
The close-knit town was reeling after learning that one of their own, a juvenile at that, is accused of taking Lily's life. At a court hearing, the prosecutor revealed shocking and disturbing details about the crime.
When he did get off of the trail, punched the victim in the stomach, knocked her to the ground, essentially strangled her, hit her with a stick before strangling her to the point of death before he then sexually assaulted her.
Lily and her accused killer left Lily's aunt's house together. Lily was strangled, she was beaten with a stick, she was sexually assaulted.
This is a serious charge, and because of serious charges, there are serious consequences.
Forensic pathologist Michael Bodden weighed in about the juvenile's arrest.
They'll know whether or not there were red flags that were missed, whether he had problems in school, whether he had been involved with the police in the past.
The arrest is a grim reminder of other notorious cases where a child has murdered another child. Eric Smith was just 13 when he lured little Derek Roby into a wooded area in Savona, New York. He strangled the child and beat him to death with a rock. Smith walked free from prison in 2022 after serving 28 years. Attorney Royal Oakes weighs in on the Lily Peters case.
If a child from 10 to 16 is treated like an adult by the criminal justice system in Wisconsin, they could be looking at life in prison for murder.
In January 2024, it was determined that Carson would be tried as an adult. If convicted, he would face a sentence of life in prison. This teenager has admitted he pushed a log off a cliff, killing a mom as she stood below. Now he's asking for forgiveness from the dead woman's family.
I hope that someday you'll find it in your heart to forgive me.
The tragedy happened when professional photographer Victoria Schaefer was taking pictures of high school seniors in this beautiful Ohio State park on Labor Day last year. The group was following along this trail back to the parking lot when out of nowhere, a 70-plus pound log came crashing down from above, crushing the photographer. The students and other people nearby called 911, but her injuries were far too severe.
A tree branch fell on her. Slow down. I can't understand you. What happened? A tree branch fell on her.
She's not moving. She got her head like smashed in with a log. I think she's dead. There's no cold.
The mother of 4 was pronounced dead at the scene. The log hit her with such force it broke her camera. 2 teens have been charged in the crime. 17-year-old Jordan Buckley walked into court with his family and pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter.
How do you plead?
I plead guilty, Your Honor.
Buckley then stood up, turned and addressed Victoria's family, including her husband, Fritz.
I understand that my actions that day has caused your family's life to change. And my hope from all of this is to use this trauma to learn and live the rest of my life in a way that will honor the Schaefers.
A second teenager, Jaden Churchhius, has pled guilty to the same charge. The case is moved to juvenile court. As a result, both of the teens, Jaden Churchhius and Jordan Buckley, were sentenced to 3 years in a youth detention center. 3 teens were charged as juveniles in a deadly high school bathroom assault on 16-year-old Amy Joyner Francis.
Now they know they're in very serious trouble and could spend a substantial amount of time in prison.
One of the girls involved in the teen girl's death has been found delinquent of criminally negligent homicide. A second girl was convicted of third-degree criminal conspiracy, and the third was found not guilty of that same count. According to reports, authorities say Joyner Francis entered the bathroom in 2016 to peacefully settle a disagreement with the 3 teens when it became violent. A video of the assault reportedly shows one girl punching Joyner Francis in the head and torso. Authorities say Joyner Francis's head banged onto the sink, and she had to be airlifted in critical condition to the hospital, where she was pronounced dead. Officials say Joyner Francis died from a cardiac incident she was vulnerable to because of a pre-existing heart condition that would not have occurred had she not been assaulted. The teen girl convicted was sentenced to 6 months in a juvenile facility, followed by 2 years probation. She also must perform 500 hours of community service. The second convicted girl was sentenced to 18 months of probation and 300 hours of community service.